Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach, and as always, I'm joined by Christian Garcia.
What's up? Super excited today.
Super excited, and all the way from New Zealand, our friends from Dice Legenz. We got Vahid and Truby on. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
So good to be here.
Yeah, thanks. This is cool.
Yeah,
we really enjoyed the two D&D sessions we had with you guys earlier. It's great to be on your show now.
A two-part one-shot.
Yeah, two-part one-shot, which we're now making 3 episodes out of with this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's like it's the Hobbit approach, right?
No, that's one book, 3 movies.
Yeah, exactly. We're Peter Jacksoning this.
Exactly.
Yeah, so hopefully our listeners remember our we actually did 3 episodes already because we did our character creation.
Oh, that's true. So this is the 4th.
So this is our 4th. So yeah, we've got false endings all over, just like Return of the King,
or the extended version.
the extended appendices.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we thought we'd have you guys on where we could just kind of chat a little bit about kind of the D&D experience, and being, you're definitely in a different lane of nerddom than we are, being streamers as well. So we were happy to have the opportunity to get you guys back on.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get some of the plugs out of the way real quick at the beginning, and we'll do it again at the end just so we remember. But if you want to become a patron of our show, check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. You can help support episodes like this and help other like mic cables and things like that. And we have a bunch of cool rewards on there as well. You can also go to nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. All of our info is there. And where can they find you guys? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So it's everything with Dice Legenz at the end. So dice, like, dice, and then Legenz is Legenz, because we're from NZ. We're from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah. Z means Z for us.
Yeah, I was going to say
folks.
for
Z.
the American.
I have to say.
Z, yeah.
Z is the American. I was born in Indiana, but I've lived here in New Zealand long enough that I'm a Zedder now.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. It definitely sounds cooler, and it's way harder to mess up if you're like, is it C? Is it Z? Is it T? Is it B? So
yeah.
It probably causes less confusion. And do you also say zebra? Or
A lot of people do say zebra.
What do I say? Zebra. I don't know.
But see,
You put them on the spot, so you can't.
how often do you really say it? Like I haven't said zebra in months.
Zebra.
I cross it, the zebra crossing. I think I say zebra.
There you go.
You're just morphing into American. But actually, do you know what? A lot of people, like my daughter's age, or people are elementary school age, are saying Z now because of the alphabet song.
Oh, yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of ruins.
I've never thought about
Kind of
that.
ruins the flow. Yeah. I still have to say that sometimes when I'm doing alphabetical orders for stuff. I'm like, see how fast you can sing it in your head. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Dice. That was a long, convoluted way of saying Dice Legenz. Check them out everywhere. Twitch.
So where we really, so if you go to YouTube, just type in Dice Legenz on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or Patreon or Twitter or Twitch. All of those things, it's everything, just Dice Legenz, and you'll get to us.
Absolutely. And if you're, already a subscriber to Nerds with Friends, you can check back on those episodes that we played D&D with these guys, and we have it linked in our show description as well, and it'll be linked in this show description as well. So very easy to find them. Very exciting stuff. And while you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe to this video if you're on the YouTubes or if you're on Spotify. I don't know. I don't think Spotify really cares if you like or subscribe, but do whatever Spotify tells you to. That's what we like to say. Cool.
You can heart things, right?
Yeah.
You can star things
I
or
think you
heart.
can heart things.
Yeah, just make a playlist.
Play again.
Yeah.
So
I think we're all
Just make
showing
it part of
how
the
much
original
we
listing.
use Spotify
Yeah.
right now.
I use Spotify all the time to listen to music, but I've never had to like heart something or subscribe to anything. So I definitely don't. I don't do all my podcasting on there, but we appreciate you if you are listening to us on Spotify.
There goes Spotify as a sponsor now.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Just lost-
First Neil Young, now us.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez. So one thing we like to start the show off is we like to do something called Nerdy Confessions, where we confess something that makes us nerdy. And I'm sure for you guys, it should be pretty easy. But to give you kind of an idea of how we do it, I'll let Christian go first, and then I'll go first, and then we'll throw to you guys.
So my nerdy confession this week is I just rewatched Barry, and dude, it's such a great show, man. And
the Barry HBO show?
Yeah.
Starring,
and,
what's his name?
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
So good, and like I'm dying for season 3 now, and I don't know when it's gonna happen. And I guess I've forgotten like everything. It was like I was watching it all over like from the beginning, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot how good this show is. So
yeah, I lost interest halfway through.
Are you serious, dude?
Yeah,
it's so
I just
good.
Did not care.
It's so good.
I'm glad you like it. That's great.
Remember how I said Cody doesn't like good things? That's one of the examples.
Oh wow.
You shush your mouth. Your nerdy confession should be that you didn't bring up the Halo show.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish it. I did not finish
Well,
it.
that's terrible.
Oh, not a good sign.
Yeah.
I mean, I've
He didn't know like anything about Master Chief before the show started. He's like, does he have like a last name? I'm like, no, it's just Master Chief. That's his name.
I only played the first one, and that was like
Oh my
how
God.
long ago was that?
That was in like 2000.
Yeah,
2002.
So, I
something
mean,
like that.
I only played the first
Not
one.
even number 2. You didn't play number 2.
Number 2 is like the one that changed gaming forever.
I
Yeah.
never owned. I had to go to people's houses to play.
Yeah.
So I never had an
Me
Xbox.
too.
Yeah. Here's something. This could be my nerdy confession. It'll date me, and it'll also show some of my younger, wilder days. My nerdy confession is back when Halo 2 was like the game, and you would play it on Xbox and play it online, and you would talk to like 8-year-olds who would just speak hate speech to you over the microphone.
What would they say, Cody?
I'm not going to say it.
No.
Thank God they couldn't. There weren't streamers back then because they would all be canceled now. But I remember playing it, and it was fresh out of high school and into college, and I would go play at my friend Nick's house, and he lived in Fresno at that time, which you guys probably don't know, but Fresno
You
is
guys know Fresno, right? Fresno.
it's more like Fresno.
Frey has no idea what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
So it's about like 3 hours away, and it's really in the middle of the state of California. And it's just like there's not a lot to do around there. It's very flat, not a lot of fun, interesting things. And so what we would do is we would go over to his house, and we would, partake in some sort of, either we would smoke marijuana or we would drink beers, and we would just play video games for like hours and hours and hours and hours. And one time we were playing it, and we were sitting in his living room, and we were just playing and kind of zoning out, and beating the noobs, poning the noobs, and we feel this loud thud, and the house kind of shakes. We're like, oh man, that was an earthquake. We're like, oh, so cool, and so, eventually we get kind of hungry, and so we venture out of the house to walk down to this pizza place, and outside the window where we were playing video games, there's a telephone pole, and wrapped around that telephone pole was the bumper of a car. So some car had like gone out of control, hit the telephone pole, which shook the house, and we thought it was an earthquake. And we had no idea that if that telephone pole wasn't there, we probably would have died because the car would have gone through the wall.
Jesus.
Yeah. But, we would have gone out doing what we loved. So,
Smoking weed
Yeah.
and playing
smoking weed and playing Halo,
I can't think of a better way to go.
Yeah, I know. Just real quick, like someone's sneaking up on you with the power sword, and you're just like,
Yeah.
That's it. We never
Lights
know.
out.
Is it legal in New Zealand? No, right?
No. To my amazement.
Yeah.
but-
I'm sure.
We-
I think it'll spread out eventually, and more people will start legalizing it because
we very recently had a referendum. I say recently, actually, it might have been a few years ago now.
It was a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
That's
we
kind
can get it delivered here. That's what's
yeah.
nuts.
Like literally, we could
Oh,
we could place an order on this show, and before the show is over, someone would knock at our door and give it to us. It's crazy.
Braggity brag.
What a time to
Yeah,
be
I know.
alive.
I know. Yeah, that's incredible.
Truby, how about you? What's a nerdy confession for you?
A nerdy confession from me. I'll go recent. I recently had to lock down in isolation for 7 days, not because I had COVID, but because my flatmate had COVID.
Okay.
And so that's 7 days of isolation. And this will show you what kind of nerd I am. Over that 7 days of isolation, I racked up 90 hours on Elden Ring.
Yeah.
This is gonna be like our third episode on Elden Ring.
Yeah. We've played so much Elden Ring.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm taking us back there.
What's
More than a full-time job.
It was more. It was like, yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your character? What class are you
It
using?
became a career. I'm playing a Dex intelligence build.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm not all the way down sorcery. I mean, I do have 60 intelligence right now, so I basically am a sorcerer. So I'm one of those.
That's crazy.
But, rocking the katana, love me the moon veil.
The Moon Veil. I just got that one. It's pretty cool. But my
Yeah.
guy was kind of a strength intelligence build. And so, like, I can't use it to its full potential, unfortunately.
Yeah. The katana are definitely one of the best features of Dex intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And rock sling,
Rock Sling, the most overpowered. I love it. Even I use that one. I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, I'll just throw some rocks real quick and then get done with this boss.
I'm so behind that I don't even know what any of that stuff is, man.
Man, same here, buddy. You and me both.
And
This is
the
where
worst
I'm
part is
ready.
that I'm playing. It's just I'm not
Yeah.
that far.
He's,
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, it's
I
fine.
shouldn't have spoiled all that.
The last thing I got to was like there's a building with legs and a bell where like it's like
yeah,
dong should
yeah,
be.
the mausoleums.
Mausoleum.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's more than one.
There's
Okay.
a bunch of them. Yeah, they're walking all over the place.
And I'm like,
Maybe.
do I climb this thing? I was like, okay, I can't attack it. And I was like, oh, I was trying to use my horse, donkey, goat thing that I have to jump on it.
It's
And
a
I'm like,
horse. His name is Torrent. Okay,
It's not. It has horns.
get it right.
It's like it's a mule.
He's a spectral steed.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Yeah, mules have horns. Jeez, Christian, you don't even know.
Horses don't have. Well, there's unicorns. They have one horn.
They have
I
one
guess.
horn. He's a duocorn. Vahid, how about you? What's a nerdy confession for you?
Well, for better or for worse, it's not around video games.
That's fine.
Because a couple of years ago, 18 months ago, I figured out that my addiction was too strong, and in a fit of madness or self-control, you decide I wiped all the computer games off my computer and off
my
my
God.
phone.
Oh,
Wow, cold
And
turkey.
I did. I went cold turkey, and then I, bounced back and forth, it's almost like rehab kind of thing, back and forth. But it took me a few months, and then I finally got it out of my system. So I haven't actually played any computer games for a while.
Wow.
What was your
Mine
poison?
is Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And this is possibly a confession in that the game that I was playing the most was Fortnite.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Woohoo!
I don't know why
And-
you were gonna say Minesweeper.
Mine-
That's
Click. Ooh, 3. It's got to be around here somewhere. Click, click.
What a game, though. Minesweeper. No.
shit!
No.
I just re-triggered him.
Once-
He's gonna go play.
I will say this. Once you figure out how Minesweeper actually works, it is kind of fun. Like, you sit there like, oh my God, it's got, oh, the one. Oh, I better not click that box.
Yeah. How many years did you spend just being like, oh, now I've just got to randomly guess?
Yeah,
Not
100%.
I just loved it. The most satisfying part for me was when you hit that one box and then a bunch of them clear.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's the best. That's like when you in Tetris when you throw the straight block down and it takes off like 4 rows. You're like, oh, so good.
Any young listeners are just like, what the hell are they talking
What
about?
are these guys? What is this? Is that an app?
Is it Minecraft? What are they talking? That's not how Minecraft works.
So my crowning nerdyish confession lately is that we have one of the Dungeons and Dragons board games.
Oh, okay.
And
like
Call of Ashardallan.
Oh, okay, nice. Because I know Lords of Waterdeep is a that's a popular one too. I think, right? That's a pretty big board game.
And I like to tell people that I bought it because it has a whole bunch of minis in it that I can use a lot. You're right. That's what. But I have been known to do single player mode on that and play Dungeons and Dragons all by myself for hours. You know,
the ultimate.
My wife will come in and look disparagingly at me, shake her head in shame. I married this guy. Yeah. So that's probably my lowest point.
That's great.
I don't consider that a low. I play solo player the Arkham Horror living card game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's something that I dominate the kitchen table with. Similarly to my flatmate's despair.
That's awesome.
Is that the Mansion Madness games, the Arkham? I think I've seen.
No. No, and there's quite a lot of games in that property now, but this one is, I don't think it's even their most recent anymore, but they package up all their different storylines into like a 8 scenario storyline deck builder game.
Gotcha.
And they've got about 6 or 7 stories now. But you just accumulate all these investigator cards which you build decks with, and you just build up your collection as you move through all these storylines, and so you have hundreds and hundreds of cards that you can build these different deck archetypes with. And
you're just sitting there by yourself like, ooh,
I enjoy it.
I hope this next one comes up. Oh, it's the wrong one. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. And how honest you have to be with yourself, Nah, I drew a bad card.
Yeah.
Nah, I have to keep it.
Yeah, because if you cheat at a single player like board or card game, you're just cheating yourself. Like
exactly.
They just need that little endorphin hit, where you're like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Oh, all right. That's the best. Well, cool guys. Well, thanks for sharing your nerdy confessions with us. I mean, I think that's part of the reason we started this show, was like we like talking about our nerdiest passions and like the things we like to geek out about the most. And we were tired of like feeling bad about it, right? We were like, lots of people do nerdy stuff. So cool. Well, we're going to take a quick little break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more to these guys about what it's like to stream Dungeons and Dragons. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Okay, cool, guys. Well, so Christian and I have played quite a bit of Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, we've been playing a game together now for 2 years, I think. That's rapidly approaching its end, which is it's definitely nerve-wracking for me as a DM. I don't know if they actually care or realize that.
I am terrified.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one that voices in the game like we're screwed, like we're totally fucked right now.
Yeah, but I do have some fun stuff planned, so hopefully that'll play out as the last couple rounds go. But you guys definitely take it to a different level, right? You stream every week, and you have another stream where you're talking to people and whether they're other Dungeons and Dragons players or what have you. So you guys are doing Dungeons and Dragons professionally. So tell us a little bit about how you guys got started and what kind of inspired you to start streaming the game.
Yeah, sure. So I should probably start on that
I
one
think so.
because I
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Then we'll talk about how Truby got roped into this whole thing.
yeah.
exactly. So
The cool part, as our fans refer to.
Yeah.
that's what they call it.
That's what they call it. The
They
cool
call
part.
it the cool part. Hey, so it was actually about a year ago that I got serious about it.
Yeah.
My eldest daughter had been watching Critical Role for a while,
Sure.
and and had introduced me to it. It to me, not me to it.
Yeah.
And like most sane people in the world, I thought the idea was insane.
Right.
That I thought it was crazy that people would voluntarily spend 4 hours watching other people play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. Right.
But so I kind of
On paper, it sounds weird. Yeah.
It does. But I guess this, from the same point of view, like if you're a basketball, like we take sports like basketball, hockey, football, we take that as normal for people to watch it as a spectator sport.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, but the idea of watching video games or role-playing games is new, so it's, we're just not used to the idea. Anyway, so I started watching it a little bit and started watching some other ones. I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And then I noticed that that there were some things that, having done D&D for such a long time, I felt that actually we could, from New Zealand, produce an international quality show
Yeah.
that would be the same caliber as that we could move towards being one of the top shelf D&D streaming shows.
Sure.
And I come from the television world, and a lot of D&D streamers are people that, because of necessity, stream from their living room or their bedroom,
Sure.
and they use overlays. And because of COVID, they had to connect with digital tools and all that. And from the TV world, I just had I knew that we could produce something really special. And
Yeah.
so we created a business plan, started throwing some ideas together. What would that look like to take it from a professional point of view? And the doors just kept opening and opening and opening.
Yeah.
People approached, we were able to secure funding even from some investors. And then it was a case of getting our cast members. Well, actually, we got the cast members pretty early on because for a successful D&D show,
Yeah.
the audience needs to have a double connection. Unlike in a movie or TV show where they're connecting really with just the character
Sure.
and to a minor extent with the actor, for a D&D show, they have to have an equal connection with the cast members and with their characters.
Right. That's interesting.
And
Yeah.
That's a
So-
good point. Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, that's true.
And so it was really important for us to get the right cast members.
So how'd you end up
And
with
what-
Truby then?
Well, there we go.
Oy.
Over to you, Trudy.
How did you end up with me? I was like the second or third to jump on board, maybe.
Yeah. So what happened is we. So I'll start off and then we'll pass to you. So
Okay.
so we did a short list of some actors. We wanted professionals, people that could perform.
Sure.
And we approached a number of people here that I'd worked with in the TV world that we thought, and asked them, do they know of anyone that might be good? Truby's name was actually suggested right at the very beginning.
Nice.
In the first lot of people that were suggested, he was one of the first 8 people that were suggested.
Yeah.
The first person we contacted was not Truby, though. It was someone that I had worked with previously, a guy named Ronnie.
Okay.
It's nothing.
I like
No,
you
no,
were.
go on.
The
keep going.
pedestal was getting too high. You
Yeah.
had to take him down a couple notches before he gets.
Yeah. His head wouldn't fit in
I
the
do
camera
that
frame
myself
anymore.
sometimes.
Well, and I approached Ronnie because if you've seen our show, he plays a character named Lona. Ronnie is, I've worked with Ronnie for years, for 7 years. And so it's the obvious first choice is if someone else is suggesting him, and I've worked with him. So he was our first person, and he was really excited to be involved. We tried to contact Truby, and he did not answer.
He was busy playing Elden Ring, the pre beta launch. He's like, I can't answer that right now.
Exactly. I was making fan theories. I was, just scouring the internet for anything I could find about Elden Ring.
There you go.
That's not true. Okay, first of all, I will say that I'm a little bit bad at answering emails. But secondly, I was on tour at that time. I live a racy actor's lifestyle.
Nice.
So racy.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't get weed in New Zealand, but cocaine is everywhere.
Exactly. Oh, so you've been.
You've been.
Yeah, great. So, we were doing like 2 or 3 shows at different schools during the day, packing up the van, driving to the next city, unloading into the hotel. And by that point...
Who wants to check emails?
Yeah, emails were never high on my list. Which is, hey, look, I admit that I need to learn some more personal management, or want to learn some more personal. I'm trying not to judge myself for that, but at the end of the day, the thing that I wanted to do was sit down with the rest of the castmates and play literally every board game under the sun.
There you go.
They were all nerds as well. All 5 people on tour were incredible nerds.
Excellent.
And so we were playing like Citadels and Great Western Trail and Hanabi and like literally every new city we went to the it's Whitcall's for us, but that's like a book and game store. And we'd buy a new game and then play it that evening.
Nice.
It was, so that's what I was doing instead of answering the email.
Research. It was research for the game.
Little did you know it. You were preparing for a role.
It was why you wanted me, was the fact that I wasn't available to answer.
That's right, yeah.
the request because I was playing games and acting, So,
there you go.
Yeah.
So I was pretty sure that Truby wasn't interested at all. And so then, so we moved on completely, and Raylene joined in, and she was super keen. Raylene plays a dwarf bard, and she'd never played D&D before, but she was super keen. And so she was. So we had 2 people on, and then we had a third person as well, but that changed at the last minute. And then I talked to someone else to say, look, I really want a 4th. Player, do you have any other suggestions? And another person suggested Truby, and I looked and I figured out 3 people have now suggested Truby.
Yeah.
Let's try calling the guy again. And this time he actually answered the phone.
There you go. Caught him in between board games and shows.
Yeah, exactly. It's me covered in sweat, like in the background you can hear rapturous applause from all these kids.
Yeah.
You've caught me at my moment where I finally got a spare second answer the phone.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
So
what? I'll do it. Okay. Get this phone out of my hand and pass it to my PA. And...
There you
Exactly.
go.
That's what it's like. So that's how it happened. And then at the last minute, our 4th player had a scheduling change. So we had to change. And then at the very last minute, our 4th player, Monique, turned up. And Monique knows and Truby know each other really well. You were surprised that she was going to be interested.
Yeah, because she is.
Cool.
Dare I say, she's not a nerd.
She's cool.
Nice.
Actually, she actually has style.
Yeah. She's like,
I
hang out with
some
these
like
nerds.
secret little nerdy ways about her, but she's mostly what I would say not a nerd.
So you answered one question that had like one actor had not played, but had everyone else played before D&D or no?
We are the only 2 of the 5 cast members. We're the only 2 that had D&D experience.
Very cool.
Nice.
I
so
feel like
actually
that's
one of
how D&D is really fun, is when it's being kind of taught to new people too, because you kind of get to see them figuring things out.
And actually, I think it actually adds to our first number of shows, because a lot of people that watch these streams are people that are interested in the game,
right,
in learning how to play the game,
right.
And so I think it is nice that in those first few episodes, 3 of the players are learning how to play as well.
Right.
And hopefully our audience is lenient on them. We've certainly not had any bad feedback at all about that, but
Sure.
It's really interesting now that we've just released episode 9 on Sunday, episode 9. And already, everyone knows what they're doing. So it's
right.
Yeah.
Learn by doing.
Yeah.
Anyone can learn to play a game, but not everyone can learn to be a performer.
That's true. That's 100% true. And I think you bring up a good point too, is that, you guys, as well as I'm sure so many other D&D streamers, have been inspired by Critical Role, but then you actually watch that show and it's like, oh, we have professional voice actors who've been playing D&D together for, 5-6 years or whatever it was.
I think it was like 2 years or something. I think their game was like 2 years in.
Yeah, but now it's been going on for,
7
years or something.
7.
So it's like, if I'm new and trying to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons and I watch that, I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I could ever learn how to do what they're doing. So I think it's kind of cool. Yes, you have actors doing it so they can put a little bit more performance on it, but they're still learning the game. And I think that's more approachable. And I think hopefully that's something that people will connect with you guys. Now, let me ask you, Vahid, about your experience dungeon mastering. So
Yeah.
Have you always been a dungeon master, or is this something fairly new for you? How did you kind of get involved in the dungeon mastering?
So I've been playing D&D forever and ever.
Yeah.
And I've been a forever DM.
Yeah.
So
Me too. I feel it.
My sister, brother, and myself. That's what we would do. Like when we were at camping on rainy days, when we were camping out in the wilderness. I loved it when it would rain because then we wouldn't be going anywhere. We just
Right.
put out the books and the dice.
There you go.
So I was a forever DM through my childhood into my 20s and 30s, and the only other person that ever DMs for me is my brother.
Nice.
And we go 50-50 now in our game. But yeah, so I've been doing it for a while.
Idea. We set up a game and Truby DMs. Boom.
Yeah.
And then
You do DM though, don't you?
I do DM.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can imagine you doing a great job as a DM, really getting into all the voices and such.
Oh, thanks, buddy. That is my way into DMing. I'm a NPC first sort of writer.
Gotcha.
So I do all of the stuff that I run's homebrew.
Okay, cool.
Although I've run Curse of Strahd before, and then had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've heard that one's one of the better pre-made modules. I'd like to try that sometime.
Absolutely, yeah. Just the mythos that's already there. It's generally recognizable. The gothic horror genre is something that all people know to some extent.
Sure. Absolutely.
So yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely come at it. I write. If I have nothing else, I just want my characters. I want to know what they want, and I want to know what they sound and look like.
Right. And I think
I guess I approach it from that performance side.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you said that I kind of connected with when we were playing together was that I've never been one of these guys who writes like the 10-page backstory for my character, right? I like to have like, here's his main motivation and kind of his outlook on life, and then I'll kind of figure out the character as I play.
Totally.
And I think that's like, to me, that's always been the way I get the most fleshed out character, where I'm not I'm not trying to force in my edgy backstory into this story.
Well, I don't know if this is like a universal experience, but in my opinion, like some of the stuff you can't intellectualize, like some of the stuff you find by instinct.
Right.
Maybe it's just a personal approach, but I can only write so much because I'm like, well, I don't actually really know what he sounds like or how he responds to conflict or what he's like when he's angry until I'm playing him, So
absolutely. Well, that was what was so fun about playing. Oh, our video went out. That's cool. Hopefully it'll kick back on here in a second. But that was one of the fun things about when we were playing together was that I was figuring out how my character talked, and like the whole thing where he's like obsessed with mushrooms. That was never. I never wrote that down. I just started like playing around with it, and it was fun to eventually get to the point where like that became part of his kind of character arc, so to speak. That he's just like this loner who's just dealing with spores.
Yeah. I like my main craft outside of D&D live streaming and within acting is actually improv and improvisation.
Very
so
cool.
I've run a few improv companies and I'm an improv coach, and so I really, the one way that D&D is called is essentially the players are, to use improv parlance, yes-anding each other a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I think the game's going well, is when the players are interested in each other's fiction as well. So where I'm not 100% concerned just like with my own story, I'm invested in the other players' stories
as well.
That's when I think some real cool stuff happens.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I notice as a DM is that when people put, I think it's amazing when people do these really involved backstories. It's great. One of the things I noticed is that because a lot of Dungeons and Dragons adventures involve journeying, moving, going someplace, invariably they actually end up leaving their backstory behind.
Yeah.
Because often the backstory is involved with a person or a place or an event. And then in the adventure, they leave that place and those people. And so it's actually quite difficult as a DM to sometimes bring in backstories.
100%. 100%.
Which is one of the reasons why in our story with Dice Legends, we've set it in a grand walled city that has enough variety and diversity within it that they can actually stay around their backstories.
Right. Yeah, I think, that's one thing I've always kind of struggled with as a DM is just like, I have definitely some players who are like adamant about like, okay, so, I met the king during this and I was exiled from this town, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, the story that we're doing today has nothing to do with any of that.
Exactly.
But I'll try my best to work something in, and you feel like you kind of like let them down after, if you can't kind of force that into the story. And I think by keeping it kind of loose, I think that really helps out and allows for a better experience overall.
I think in particular one of the worst ones, like, my family's super rich, so I'm starting off with a lot of gold.
Right.
So I can, or when I run out, I can send a pigeon to my old man, and he can send me some more gold. So
exactly.
No worries there.
Yeah. Actually, one of the things you talk about the yes and people being invested in the other characters' backstories and stuff. I think one of the advantages, advantage isn't the right word. One of the things that I really love about the cast that we have is that they all have that same approach. And I think you're all invested in each other's dramatic or backstories and as they are kind of slowly unraveling. I guess unraveling is correct in both senses of things falling apart and also being revealed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I guess as a D&D, in D&D, you're both a player and an audience member.
Right.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. So it's at some points you become entertained, or like, you are the one, you're a spectator at some points. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, that's one of the unique things about the game is that, and sorry for our viewers on YouTube, Christian's camera decided to give out halfway through. So now we're doing it through this one. So this is where you look to talk to them.
I just figured, we were just doing dynamic camera changes.
Yeah, just multiple camera angles. That
so dynamic.
It's called video production, guys. I don't know if you've heard about it.
You guys saw a little bit higher view. Now you guys get to see up our noses.
Yeah,
so
exactly. But I think that is what's so unique about playing Dungeons and Dragons together is it's 100% collaborative, and not only between the players themselves trying to solve the solve the mystery or go on the adventure, but also on between the DM and the players themselves, trying to tell this interesting story. And I think that's so important to do the yes and, which, a lot of people who've never been exposed to improv might not know what that means, but making it so that you're not completely shutting someone else's idea down, and bringing the conversation to a stop, I think is super, super important.
Except for our game, it's a lot of shut up. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I think there's ways of doing that where it still works. If it's in character, where you're not just telling them to shut up and like that grinds everything to a halt, but you're playing off of their character. I think you can make it work, but it takes a little finesse for sure. So that brings up some good a good topic for you guys. What makes a good D&D player? Like, what do you guys look for, both as a player yourself, Truby, and then as a DM, Vahid? Like, what are the key aspects you look for when looking for a new player?
I was like, if I was to make a YouTube video, what could I make one on? And I was like, I could maybe do a video on how to be a good D&D player, right? Because I've got a lot of theories about it.
Let's do that. We should do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're welcome. Guys, take that idea.
It started here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I apply a lot of my improv background to being a player and what I think makes a good player. There's stuff that I've learned on doing our stream as well, where I've also learned that not all improv concepts apply as well.
Okay.
I think, but overall, I think that yes and is a really helpful concept. The idea that I'm not only going to accept the reality that you have put forward, but I'm going to build off it.
Yep.
That's a great place to start.
That's a good point. You don't just say yes and. I feel like a lot of people hear that and they're like, yes and you're accepting it and building off of it. That's good. Good reminder.
Yes, and I'm going over here.
Yes, and I'm going over here.
yeah, exactly. Just using the
the phrase. Yes,
not necessarily it, but yeah, I'm going to accept what you're saying, but more importantly, I'm going to make your idea integral to my idea that comes next.
Absolutely.
Also something in improv that we generally, as a director, I advise this, is play people who like each other.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's actually kind of hard otherwise. It's like, well, things can either become mired in negativity, or you've got people who just don't want to cooperate.
Right.
And that can actually stifle a lot of like storytelling, or at least it stops it from really taking off, I think.
Yeah, so I can agree with that. I would say you can have like a friendly rivalry, but it's one of those ones where it's like, it's like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, where maybe they didn't like necessarily like each other at the beginning, but you could kind of feel like, oh, they're kind of just like bickering brothers by the end of it, But how about you, Vahid? As a DM, what are some of the things you look for when kind of judging a good player versus a bad one?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have an answer to that question.
It's going to give us the politician answer.
I keep a bunch in my dream journal, so if you need some of bad players, I can tell you some.
I think I've probably only had good experiences, except for one, where the guy came along and really, he was politely giving it a go, but wasn't really giving it a go.
Sure.
And what happened in the end is it just drag the entire thing down.
Yeah.
Because I guess it is part of that, being willing to actually immerse yourself in the world. And this player wasn't. He was just kind of, yeah, I don't know. And it just
you don't have that buy-in, right?
No, and it actually did suck the life out of the whole game.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
But otherwise, I think people that don't know the rules, that's not a big deal.
Right.
Nah.
I like the point that you made about making characters that get on with each other.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people like to make edgy, kind of, grim characters that don't like anything.
The nomad,
so, Yeah. I don't need to be involved. And that's like, but we're trying to get an adventure going here.
Right, exactly.
And we confessed to each other that we made a couple of edgelords for the episode we did together. But you can do it and still have them get along, I think.
Right. Yeah. And like when in our game, we were both self-professed edgelords, and we didn't necessarily we weren't like the best of friends, but we had a similar goal and we worked towards it. We were collaborating together. And I think that's kind of, how you overcome something like that.
And know what it is that you respect about the other
absolutely
character. Yeah.
I think that buy-in is super important. If you have someone who's just who got roped into it somehow and they just they're not into D&D, they don't want to be part of this game, like that definitely drags it down. I will say, like, from a personal experience, if someone's not like, maybe they are into the game, but that week or that episode or what have you, they're distracted, or they're eating food and not paying attention. That's one thing that always kind of drives me nuts, is when I'm like, okay, it's your turn, what are you gonna do? There's 3 goblins in front of you. They're like, where's everybody else at? And what spells do I have?
It hurts my soul.
I must say, I don't have this very often, but when people are just doing this,
texting on the phone, yes,
I start to think, am I not? Am I not presenting an interesting enough narrative here?
Absolutely. As a DM, like that's like an ego, shot. You're like, oh my God, am I not interesting? Is this boring for them? And it's like,
All right, question. What if we're looking at the player's handbook and it's just because we're figuring out what we want to do next? Like, is that cool? Like, is that cool?
Yeah.
No,
100%.
for sure. And I know that the vast majority of people do use phones or tablets or laptops now,
for D&D Beyond or Roll20 or what have you.
And that's cool. There's a difference between that and then seeing someone that's just scrolling through their Instagram feed.
Right, exactly.
If I ever have to do it,
double tap it,
the player handbook check, I always make such a performance of it, so that the DM knows that oh cool, well, I'm just going to look that up. It's okay, no, I'm actually in the spells section. Right, how do you spell
what page was that? 294, I believe, under H for haste.
Yeah, I just want to give every assurance to the DM. It's like, hey, I'm so engaged.
Right.
I'm here, but I'm looking at my screen.
Yeah, I definitely feel that is super appreciated. As long as you're in the game and not everyone's waiting on you, because I feel like combat especially is one of those things where it's like that is the most number crunchy part of D&D, where you're like, okay, so I rolled a 20 plus 3 against his AC, which is 18 plus 2 for natural armor, and you're crunching the numbers. And so that can get bogged down if you're like, okay, Christian, what's your move? He's like, and he's like trying to figure it out at the time rather than having an idea of what he's going to do on the next turn.
He's playing Halo.
Yeah, he's playing Halo. He's streaming Dice Legenz on Twitch, just like...
He's allowed to do that.
Yeah, he's allowed to, just on silent while we're playing actual D&D.
Just one
earbud in. Yeah.
So as a DM, what, like, I feel like at least the games I've played, like inspiration points.
Oh, sure.
Like, what inspires you to give those out? Like, what would a player need to do where you're like, all right, actually, yeah, there you go, take one. Like,
I've given it for a whole bunch of things, ranging from someone just said something that was so incredibly funny,
Yeah.
you know, but usually I give it out for a clever idea at a dramatic moment.
Yeah. I'd agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think, and I
yeah.
have given a couple out in our game, if that's a backhanded
it's not
comment
it's
towards
not,
me.
I was just curious. Like, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, yours isn't the only game I've played.
Yeah. I think anytime they go kind of above and beyond in their tactics or their description of what they're doing, that brings something extra to the game, something that inspires me as a DM. That's kind of when I like to deal them out. Though I am a little stingy with them, I'll admit, for sure.
It wasn't a jab at you. It was so
Sure
asking
was.
for key.
We'll see if you survive the next round, Christian.
Yeah.
That dragon's
It felt
coming.
personal.
Yeah.
It felt and looked and sounded personal.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now that is an interesting thing, because both of you guys have DM'd and both have been players. What are some of your like rules that you like to be kind of loosey goosey with? You know, whether it's inspiration or encumbrance weight. You know, what are some of the things you go rules light on, and what are the things that you're like, absolutely, we have to do this?
I tried making a campaign out of the things that I'm not good at. So I made a campaign based around like encumbrance and travel speed and being resourced with food and water and things like that. And that was actually a really fun challenge.
Yeah.
Like
all the players are like Sherpas.
well, yeah, they had to like plan expeditions out of like home base, and like kind of try and plot where they would rest along the way, how many days it would take them.
Yeah.
And all the meanwhile, there's like a surveillance mechanic where like there's something like looking for them, like as it's happening. So
very cool.
So the time axis does matter. And that was really cool for me personally to challenge myself in that way. Like they had like pieces of paper, like each person had like an inventory, like and like a wagon, and so they had to like work out what was where. Like, yeah, you've got 20 pounds of food, but like where is it? Is it in the wagon or is it on this person? Or so you know, if something happens to like one of the horses or what have you, then it's like, okay, well, you lost this.
Yeah, you lost the capacity to carry that stuff.
So you played Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, do you guys have Oregon Trail in New Zealand, or was this something else?
They all died of dysentery, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that campaign is no longer going. But
yeah, wow.
Do people still get dysentery? I feel like I've never known anyone.
Yeah, if you drink bad water, for sure, that happens.
No one that I've known.
I've not done it myself.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. I'm a bottled guy, you know. I like Aquafina or Evian.
That's gonna be my goal. I'm gonna try to get dysentery, see if I can make it happen.
Oh God.
Making a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're filming it for the show.
I said it, now it must be done.
The rules thing that I'm loosey goosey on is economy.
Yeah.
You know, so whenever people ask me, okay, how much does it cost to stay at the inn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how much you got.
I have no idea, you know. I don't remember that, you know. I want to buy a new set of clothes. How much is it going to cost? Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. How fancy are they?
And so I'm sure that anything that I make up off the top of my head is completely inconsistent.
Yeah.
And terrible. So I'm sure that people that do carry about
that's
that
how
stuff,
real stores are, you know? Like, why is it that I go into, you know, the Gucci shop and it's a $300 t-shirt, and then when I go into Target or, you know, Walmart or whatever, it's like a $5 t-shirt. They're both t-shirts.
And you go to them like, how much does this cost? And they just shrug and they're like, I don't know.
I don't know. How much you got?
How much you got?
just got to go to your local bodega and
Yeah.
just get your shirts and your socks
Yeah, the
there.
quarter store. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
one of the things, the couple of things I've struggled with the most is like overland travel, which is kind of what you were talking about, Truby, with that resource management and stuff. I did find a cool homebrew resource that kind of really made it interesting, I thought, which is what we use in our game, where there's like different roles for each person in the party. And
Yeah, I was
depending,
gonna say you're not like that was actually cool. Like, all right, someone roll for what was it?
yeah,
Survival.
there's like a navigator who
scout.
tells
Oh,
how.
the Journeys Through Middle Earth. Is
it-
it a Lord of the Rings based one? Maybe I can't remember.
It was something I found on like one of those like GM resource websites where it's like, pay what you feel. I'm like, here's $5. Thank you for the PDF. And it was like and maybe it was based off of the game. I'm not sure. But yeah, the navigator tells how long it's going to take to get to the destination. So is it going to take a normal amount of time? Are you going to take a shortcut and get there faster? Or are you going to get lost and take longer? Then there's one who's like, someone rolls like a survival check to see how plentiful game is and food is on the way. So how many rations you'll use. There's like a lookout who determines how many encounters there are going to be, and then there's like a scout, which is how deadly the encounters are going to be. So maybe you only run into one encounter from point A to point B, but it's going to be with a fire giant because you weren't keeping an eye out or something. So
Right.
I kind of like that to keep things interesting. But one thing I've always struggled, and I think Vahid, this is kind of like what you were pointing at, is when they want to go shopping. And
It's not the money.
and
It's an episode of shopping.
Not only that, but I'm like, do I just let them buy anything from the player's handbook, or do I like kind of limit them here and there? And I've heard various people have told me different ways of doing it, and but I've just always struggled with. They're like, do you have magic items? I'm like, no, there's no magic items. But what are there? I'm like, well, there's weapons. What kind of weapons? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's right. And you got to inventory. Then you have to create a shop inventory.
Yeah, I think what I have to do is I just have to sit down and actually type a couple out and just have them good to go. And I've just every time it's come up, I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna spend an hour and a half shopping today.
See, that's why in the last game I was just like, hey, how many potions do you have? 10? I'll buy the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, then I'll just give them out. So like, who needs it? Who needs it? Who needs what? Like,
Yeah,
here you go.
exactly. Yeah, I had to come up with a number of potions that the guy had on the spot. So thanks for that. That's one of those ones I pulled out of nowhere. I don't know, 10, I guess.
It's like, I'll take the whole thing.
Right.
10, I guess.
I guess. I hope this doesn't break the game. Well, I better do 10 potions worth of damage to them in the next encounter. Christian, you got any more questions for them?
Dude, put me on the spot.
As a player, because I don't get to play very often, so maybe you have a interesting perspective.
Well, I mean, like, I guess what are the you touched on what makes a good player, but what are some definitely do not do or don't even consider that might give the DM a headache? You want to improv, even if you have a certain character that you feel like maybe
you go too far on
yeah,
something.
like all right, definitely you shouldn't consider crossing this line.
I think one thing they said before is like sticking too much to your own backstory and not flexing to like what the other characters are giving out. I think leading back to Truby's point,
just
on
because
improv.
my limited experience as DM playing with my 8-year-old niece,
Yeah.
she has a tendency of like getting sassing the other two players, which is actually Remy, Truby's character.
Oh yeah, I've never dealt with that on our game, Christian.
Like for example, Remy rolled bad. It rolled a 1 and actually hit her character, and she was like, "I hate him," and I'm like, "Well, you gotta understand."
Yeah.
Like it wasn't on purpose. So again, from my limited experience, it's very much like, well, things happen in the game and you got to roll with it. It's not always going to go your way.
Right.
And that's my experience
that's
as
right,
a child or DMing for a kid. So I don't know if like as players, like, what should they consider not possibly doing?
I think the most difficult thing for most DMs is after having spent hours preparing,
Yeah.
and you get the players together for the very first session, and you're excited, and you've created a world and a hook for an adventure, and everyone's sitting down, and then one player says, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to get on that sailing boat there because my character's backstory is I want to reconnect with my
Long lost brother.
estranged wife
Yeah.
that's over on the, and that's what we're going to do. You know, it's like, wait. So that is really hard for a DM. If you put hours into things and then a player doesn't understand, or for whatever reason, maybe they want to be the center of attention or whatever, that actually for the first bit, just go with it for the first scenario.
Right.
You know? Get into the hook and then exert your will. But if you do it right at the beginning,
Right.
that's tough.
It's like, guess what?
Like-
all the ships are broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. What's that? A storm giant. Oh, he just wrecked all the ships. Oh no. You can't do that anymore.
Oh no, your ship sunk and you died. Do you have another character ready to go?
Yeah, you're dead. Don't worry about coming to the next session. Your character's dead. No, I feel like we treat like railroading as like a really dirty word.
Right.
Railroading. Ooh, no, can't do that. But there are so many benefits and advantages to it. It just makes sure that everyone has a good time and they understand what's happening.
Right.
Because there's a scale to it and there's a timing to it, I think. I think the start of an episode or the start of a session should be the most railroady part of it.
Yes.
And I think that's totally okay. And I think every now and then you might have players who want to test like the limits or like
The limits of the world?
Oh yeah, how sandboxy is this?
Yeah,
right.
And they'll be like, okay, how many choices until I break the DM?
Right.
But I think it's in everyone's interest to just go with, just play on the railroad for the first part. And then once momentum's going and the DM's warmed up and the players are warmed up and the DM knows what everyone wants and what the situation is.
Right.
And once you're at like the 3 hour mark, you can kind of make any choice because then the DM can just be like, cool, we're ending it there.
Yeah, next session.
Yeah, and now I get the week to think about this crazy choice that you've
Absolutely.
made. Like,
Yeah.
I think you bring up an excellent point, is that, everyone thinks that railroading, and for those who are maybe new to the game or haven't played Dungeons and Dragons, the term railroading is, playing a game where you're on a set of railroad tracks where no matter what choices you make, you're ending up where the DM wants you to end up. And that takes away like player agency and kind of the fun collaborative nature of the game. So you do want to avoid something that's that direct, right? But I think you bring up a good point, is that like the point is to have an adventure, to tell a story together, and stories have plot, whether you like it or not. Right. So certain things have to like kind of weave their way in a certain direction. Now, it's not to say that you can't get to various solutions creatively and take roundabout ways of getting to places, which you guys have done several times on the game, where it's like,
and to be fair,
here's the ship that the Giant King's on that you have to get and save. Let's go to that island over there. What's over there?
why would you introduce 7 islands that we're not going to go near?
They're important.
They're pre-made maps, Christian. I'm not going to make a bunch of maps with just one island on. Okay, that's not how geothermal activity happens.
And what's funny in our game is like some of the most, at least for us players, the most entertaining and fun parts were things that like we just threw on at Cody at one time. Like there was a fisherman,
Jasper Seaman.
My goodness, that's a name.
And
Yeah, who went to fish college.
because we were asking this NPC so many questions, and the thing is, it was Cody finally doing a voice, and like he was doing an accent, and we were just all, And it wasn't even us trying to irritate him. It's just like, oh my God, this character is so interesting. We want to interact with him more.
Yeah.
And for us, and we were like, okay, we spent so much time on this session that I'm sure, like, none of the things that Cody planned out for us have we gone to just because we.
I had the next week already done. I was like, well, we didn't do anything this session, so.
And again, and like I could tell watching Cody is like, he is not enjoying this, but everyone else is having such a great time with this NPC that we just
I think because like as the DM, like you're like, how do I make a good time for these people? It's through making like this consistent story and this interesting story.
Right.
And if they found something like 20 minutes in that they latch onto, like you've successfully done your job.
That's
like,
true.
They've
That's
just
true.
fallen in love with a character.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess I should just realize that I'm a master of improv, and that that Jasper the Seaman.
Looks like, right?
Yeah.
I just remember at one point I asked, like, hey, I was like, we've been bothering this guy for so long. I'm going to buy some fish. I'm like, yo, how much are the fish? And he was just like, I don't know, a bushel is this much. And I was like, a bushel? Fish just come in bushels?
I didn't major in economics at Fish College. I just know how to get them in the boat.
And that was one of the best moments. It was like the bushel of fish.
Yeah, it's not my proudest moment.
That sounds like a gift though. That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's another great improv thing, right? Is pointing out the inconsistency and not dropping it. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, you just got to go with it. You know?
wait, hold on a minute. What stupid thing did you just say?
Yeah. Nope, that's real. Yep. I don't know how much fish cost. I just know how to catch them.
It was the best. It was that was one of my favorite sessions. And again, we didn't even get much done.
It was pretty fun.
And I think that was right before we landed on the island that we weren't supposed to go to at all.
Yeah, you're like finding out where the boat was or something. Yeah. Well, cool guys. I think this has been like super cool. I think we've gotten, now we have 4 DMs that have, kind of given our different perspectives and at different points in our careers too. You guys have been, sounds like have been doing it a lot longer than I have. And then I've, been doing it longer than Christian has, I think.
I'm DMing for kids, which is a child, which I think eventually she'll probably bring a couple of her friends and, but I'm just doing it just on the spot. I'm just like, I just threw in our characters. Actually, Cody's character hasn't shown up yet because
it's too edgy.
It's not only that, but I'm like, I've played a rogue and I have the character sheet for Cholo, so like they're in there. But I'm like, oh shit, I do have an idea how to bring your character, and I was like, but I definitely need the character sheet. So
yeah, I think for anyone out there who's kind of interested in learning to dungeon master or learning to play Dungeons and Dragons, I think that the best suggestion I can give is just get out there and start playing, get a group of friends and start like watch a stream like Dice Legenz or Critical Role if you want to be shown how voice actors do it, and like just start playing. Don't get caught up in like worrying about the rules, worrying about designing the perfect character. The best way to start learning is to start playing, and I think that's the best way to get into it. So, guys, once again, where can everyone find you on Twitch and YouTube and all that? Plug whatever you want to plug.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So you can find us everywhere just using the words Dice Legenz. Dice like dice and legends, Legenz. We're from New Zealand. Z. We covered this at the beginning.
Yeah.
Dice Legenz. And so Twitch at Dice Legenz, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, they're all the same. Dice Legenz everywhere.
Awesome. And you can check us out at nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. That's where all of our information is. Or you can check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. Easy way to support the show. And thank you to all of our patrons who already support the show. You guys help make things like this possible. Give us mic cables, cameras, lights, things like that. You keep the heat on in this cold, cold San Francisco studio. Thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been awesome. Like not only collaborating with you guys, but then just chatting with you when we're off camera and off mic. It's been really fun getting to know you guys and being a part of the Dice Legenz, crew for a while, at least for our 2 episodes.
It's been a real. Thank you so much for inviting us. We've really loved the chatting and the game sessions and being here with you now on your podcast. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, so much fun. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Anytime. You guys are welcome anytime. Let us know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to. We'll be collaborating in the future, I'm sure. So thank you guys again, Christian. As always, thanks for being my my sidekick, faithful. The player to my DM.
You've been pretty good with the sidekicks on the episodes. This time we missed it, but on the spot, you've been pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't think of a good. Thanks for being the bard to my cleric.
There we go. Or the tray to my dice. I don't know.
No,
Dice tray.
that's
No.
dumb. That's why I'm the bard and you're the cleric. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. And to all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you and good night.